Hi guys, it's Jenny from the Scrap FX design team for April 2022. Today I'm doing a quick art journal page on some craft cardstock. I'm starting with the Circles of Colour by Claire Steed. This was released in March, and I've also got the Faces Collage Transparency here. And I've just selected one of those faces and I'm just auditioning it on the rice paper at the moment, trying to decide if I want to use that as my background behind the face. I'm deciding that I wanted to make a bit of an art doll as my focal point on my art journal. So just trimming off the excess transparency here. And I decide on using some book paper behind the face here. So just getting out some of the layer cake paints, and I'm just layering some of that colour down onto my background and just sort of randomly popping that down, leaving some of that craft paper still exposed. And because it is a sort of a watercolour gouache, I need to layer it a fair bit just to get that nice consistency across the page. I'm just using the Scrap FX circular shawl here, and I'm going to stencil just some random areas on my background, just with partially stenciling with that circular shawl. Now this is also a Scrap FX stencil. This one is called Don't Waste Time. And I'm just going to stencil that down the right hand side of the art journal page. Again, I'm using another Scrap FX stencil here. This one is called String Beads, and I'm just stenciling that with a little bit of yellow paint. I think it's actually Limelight down the centre of the art journal page. And then just a little bit of doodling with some Posca pens over the stenciling here, just to give it a bit of contrast and just to finalise the circles on that stencil. Now back to the rice paper and creating my little focal point, which I'm deciding on the art doll here. So I'm just going to glue down that transparency onto the book paper. I'm just using some matte medium here and then pressing down firmly, and I'm just going to fussy cut that out. And then I'm going to create the body of the doll using the Circles of Colour rice paper. So just auditioning that on the page now, working out where exactly I want to place that before I glue it down. And I've just decided that I had a bit of a blank spot here, so I'm just using that circular shawl again just to do a little bit more of the stenciling in the background. So again, using matte medium to glue down that book paper and the transparency into position. And then the rice paper over the top. So here I've got a silhouette. This is called Love Flower, and just sort of deciding if I wanted to use that or not. I've pulled out some stamps. This one is Flower Power stamps. It's one of my favourite Scrap FX stamp sets. And I'm just using one of those circles to do some pattern work in the background. Just within some archival ink here. So just using the Stabilo ore to create a bit of shadow around the body. So just water activating that here. And now I'm using the black archival to edge around my art journal page. And back to that silhouette, the Love Flower, just sort of deciding where I want to pop that. And I'm just using a fine line pen here just to put some more fine lines around that body. So just sort of creating a little bit of assemblage here with the silhouette, and I've decided that I was going to use a bit of the rice paper in behind the flower just to give it a spot of colour, and I'm going to fussy cut that out. And then I've just used a little bit of scrap book paper, and I'm just assembling a little bit of a collage there next to the doll. I really like how the rice paper sort of sits underneath that flower. It makes it look like a little bit of stained glass. So I'm using a little bit of sari ribbon fibres, and I've pulled out another silhouette faces. This is number 2, and I've just selected a few random faces out of that silhouettes on the transparencies as well. And I'm just basically assembling them and deciding where I want to put them, auditioning them on the page before I glue them all down. So again, just using some matte medium to glue the rice paper down and adding a bit of that sari silk fibres. Now gluing down the book paper, a bit more of that sari silk, and then the silhouette of the Love Flower. And these are the extra transparencies. And of course I'm going to add 3 there just for the odd number that makes it look more visually pleasing. So again, just auditioning them before I glue them down, and then using matte medium to glue them into place. So once that's all completely dry, I touch up the face with some white Posca pens. So just putting the whites of the eyes in, colouring in the eyeballs, and just adding a touch of colour through the face. Adding some lip colour here and cheek colour. And the Posca pens work really well on the transparency. Just a bit of doodled handwriting across the side there, just to balance out the stencil work on the right hand side. And then going back in and adding a little bit of Posca pen to the other smaller faces as well. Just a little bit of hand doodling around the silhouette. And that's it. The finished page. Was quite happy the way that it turned out. It was a nice easy one. I hope you found some inspiration. Please leave us a thumbs up and comment. And until next time, enjoy your arting.